Hello everyone, welcome back to the Microsoft Outlook Basics course. Today we'll be looking at the components of Outlook and talk a little bit about some navigation features that you might find useful. Across the top of the Outlook window, you may see a ribbon of options. The ribbon will change depending on which tab you've selected, and the tabs are listed across the top of the ribbon. The different tabs include things like Home and View. There is also a File tab, but it does not use the ribbon. It has its own format, and we'll take a look at that later on. If you find the ribbon is taking up too much room, you can minimize it to give yourself more workspace using the little arrow at the bottom right of the ribbon. When minimized, the ribbon will automatically reappear whenever you select a tab, but then it will disappear again when you're done with it. If you determine that you want the permanent ribbon back again, you can click on any tab to open the ribbon, then look for the pin icon again in the bottom right of the ribbon to put it back into place. Being able to quickly swap between a minimized and a pinned ribbon can be very useful when you need a larger workspace within Outlook. Each ribbon contains groups of commands and features, some of which have submenus and drop-downs for further choices. It's important to note that each ribbon can be customized, although we will not be going into the details in this course. There is a QAT, or Quick Access toolbar. It's usually above the ribbon, although you can also place it just below the ribbon. It's a place where you can put commands that you use very regularly, and you can add any command or feature to the Quick Access toolbar if you determine it's something you use on a regular basis. And you can do this by right-clicking on any command within the ribbon, and it will give you the Add to Quick Access toolbar option. On the left-hand side is the folder pane, and it can be minimized or pinned, similar to the way the ribbon can be, again, to give yourself more workspace at different points in your day. This is a spot where you include any folders or subfolders, and you can bring any of those folders up into the favorite section at the top for easy access. So if you have multiple subfolders in varying levels, you can drag one of those subfolders up to favorites and have single-click access to it rather than having to drive through the hierarchy each time. So these folders can be added and removed to favorites as you need them, and you'll probably find you will change those regularly as your priorities change over time. Down at the bottom of the folder pane is a set of navigation options, and these give you quick access to the other areas of Outlook so that you can single-click jump to calendars, to contacts, and back to email. You can adjust this as well so it's only showing the options that you need. Again, we can reduce clutter by getting rid of things you don't need. So we'll take a look at that in a little bit as well. The reading pane is usually on the right side of the list of emails. It can also be placed at the bottom if that's where you prefer. Or if you'd rather not have that reading pane to preview emails, you can turn it off altogether. This is an area where you can see the body of the email at a glance. Whichever email is highlighted in the list is what is shown in this window. And in this window, you can also see some additional information about attachments that may be associated with that email. It is important to think about whether you want an email to be marked as read when you view an email in the Outlook pane. I personally do not like having that set, but if that's something you like, you can certainly do it. We'll investigate this a little further on in the course in more detail, but be aware that that is an option you need to decide if it works for you or not. The to-do bar is on the right-hand side, and it can include components for calendar, people, or tasks, or any combination of the above. And again, if this is something you don't use or don't need, you can turn it off and give yourself more workspace within the Outlook window. Down in the bottom right corner of the Outlook window, there's two features that are often quite useful. The first is a zoom bar so that you can zoom in and out on the text of an email within the reading pane. So if the text is too small, you can make it larger. If the email is too cluttered, you can zoom down so that you can see more of the email within the reading pane. There's also an option to switch quickly between a reading view and a normal view. And all that does is when you click reading view, it unpins all of the panes that you currently have pinned open. So again, it gives you quickly more working space and a larger reading pane to help you read those emails. When you're done, you can click normal view and it brings all of your pinned windows back into pinned mode. So let's take a look at some of these features. And we'll start with the zoom. You can see we have an email here in the reading pane. And if that's a little small for you to read, as I find it is sometimes, you can zoom up and you get your much larger text. Or you can zoom down, make it smaller, and that's often useful for cluttered emails where you want to see a little more of the email in the window to make it a little more accessible. And if I want to have a little more space to read this email, I can jump to the reading view, and it minimizes the panes on either side so I have more room to see and view that email, so I can zoom it up a little bit and be able to read it a little more clearly. When I'm done with that and I want my panes back, I just click on the normal view and that brings back what I have. Now here on the folder view, I can at any time minimize it manually, and I just click on the arrow there to minimize it. When I want to bring it back, I click on the arrow again to bring it out, and it will show me a pin icon. And if I click on that, it brings it back permanently. Similarly, the ribbon up here, I can minimize the ribbon, and when I want the ribbon back, I just click on any of the tabs, and again, it will give me that pin option, and I can put it back into place where I want it to be. So up top, I noticed the ribbon tabs have different options and different features, and they all use the ribbon with the exception of the File tab, which has its own format, and we'll look more into those options at a later point in the course. Here above the ribbon is our quick access toolbar, and you can see I have a couple of options there: send and receive all folders. The undo option is always there for me. Reply option I've thrown in there. Or I can use this drop down to add any other features. I could add forward in there so that I have that at my fingertips. Or I can go to any option that I can find on the ribbons, right click, and it gives me the option to add to the quick access folder. And there we go, we've added a new one. And these can be removed by right clicking them up here in the QAT and remove from the quick access toolbar. Down here in my folder pane, there is a favorite section at the top, and I can include any folders or subfolders from my mailbox, from my PSTs, from my archives, and I just go to the folder, I right click, and I can add it to favorites, and now I have single click access to it. No matter how many folders I have down here, this one is always at the top and within easy reach. Down at the bottom, we have our navigation options, and you can adjust how many options show at any given time, assuming there is room. Now I have 2 showing there now. If I increase that to 4, we'll see if there's room for 4 options, and there isn't in this case. So we can try taking it down to 1. Oops. And now I only have the 1 option. Now, all those other options are still there. They're just under the ellipse. So I can still get to them. They're just not immediately available. So if I go to navigation options, I can just adjust how many I see. I can also change this from compact navigation. So instead of icons, we actually get words. So we have mail and people instead of the icons. The other thing you can do in here is to change the order of these. So maybe I want mail and calendar. I will move calendar up so that when I save that, it's now mail and calendar are here and people shows up in the additional list. Now my reading pane over here is normally to the right, but I can go to my View tab and I can adjust my reading pane so it's at the bottom if you have a preference to have it down here. Or if you don't like having the reading pane, you can turn it off altogether. But you can see how having it there and on the right lets you get that preview of an email at just a glance, and it's a handy little tool. On the right is your to-do list. Now I have my calendar up here. I find that's quite useful. Saves me from having to go to my calendar within Outlook or to my operating system calendar. But I can also add in people and tasks to this bar if those are useful to you as well. Once again though, if none of these are to your preference, you can turn the toolbar to-do bar off altogether, and again it gives you a little more workspace. So there we go. There's a few of the features that we've talked about there. Think about what works for you. Find those key commands that you want to include to your quick access toolbar. Find those deeply embedded folders that you'd like to bring up to the top so you have quick access to them, and you will find that your workday goes a little quicker. Thank you very much, and we will see you in the next module. This concludes this module.